What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer back with some more Outriders for you. So today, I decided to go way off meta and try to push the Techno in a direction I haven't seen many players really try out. Now, what we're going to be going for is close range damage, explosives, and exclusively using our auto pistols. And the whole concept behind this John Wick build is that we want to get in really close to the enemy targets and constantly harass them using our melee, explosives, and status effects. And we can either run this solo or in a squad. Now, if we are in a squad, we are there to draw as much aggro as possible, so our squad members can then mow down the NPCs while we are attracting all the attention. And believe me, this style of gameplay is more than capable of handling the highest CT content in the game, and it's really a nice change from the current builds that everyone is using. But before we dive into this build guide, I wanted to send out a massive thank you to everyone that has been viewing and subbing to the channel for my Outriders content. And just in case you haven't yet hit that sub button, please do so. And don't forget to ring the bell to receive all future upload notifications from my channel. Alright, let's get this one started. Very similar to my unkillable Pyromancer build guide, link in the video description, I went for a full-on in-your-face build concept, but this time using the much different Techno class. So first up, let's take a look at the skill tree, and I have pretty much stayed in the Demolisher portion of the tree. Just a quick reminder that with the Techno class, the baked-in talents include a melee freeze, healing through applying damage to targets. We also get a buff to long-range weapon damage, which serves us no good with this build, but we do get skill leech and weapon leech to keep our sustain going. Essentially, what I was going for was as much anomaly power as I could stack through the skill tree. So anytime you can take a node like anomaly fueled, do so. Now, since we are also going to be using a lot of scrapnel traps with this setup, anytime you can snag Ordnance Technician type nodes for extra Ordnance skill cooldowns, you also want those as well. Now, I tried to stick with a bit of the traditional Techno setup, and I've also elected for Brain Freeze that will also apply Toxic to our melee strikes. And since we are going full John Wick, we need to rock those pistol sidearms. And Sidearm Adept gives us a solid 12% damage gain without having to spend a mod slot point to gain it. Don't sleep on Winter's Barrier because it's really clutch at keeping us right up in the enemy's faces, because each time we pop a melee attack, our damage mitigation gains another 40% for 3 seconds, and I'm constantly up in these targets' faces, hitting them with that melee strike. Now, as I headed out the tree, I do pick up nodes like ANETA plates for more resistance, and other nodes for resistance piercing. Keep going for more anomaly power, ordnance cooldown, and nodes like Toxicologist for even more toxic affliction duration, and later on in the tree, toxic affliction damage. Now, this really helps out on the elites so we can burn them down with damage over time. At the very end of the Demolisher tree, spend that final point for Tech Bond and the 50% anomaly power boost whenever we use an ordnance skill. Next up are the skills, and I've chosen to go with the Cryo Turret, Cold Snap, and Scrapnel Mines. Now, the turret is really only there for a bit more crowd control, especially to help out my squad mates. Cold Snap by itself could also be seen as merely crowd control, but paired with one of my mods, it instantly becomes one of the best skills in the game, especially if you're running with a team that can push out heavy DPS. Now, the third skill, Scrapnel, really blends well with this John Wick playstyle, as we are going to be literally within feet of our targets when we deploy these mines. Now, based on the anomaly power I have stacked onto the build and the gear set I'm using, the Scrapnel mines will each deal 226,000 damage, not including the smaller cluster mines that expand from that initial blast. And with this build, you're going to have 3 of these babies that you can deploy in rapid succession. Now, once you see the gear and the mods, it will make more sense. But when you get in close and start letting the Scrapnel traps loose, it really becomes total mayhem and can lead to some serious damage inflicted on mobs. Let's keep this build guide going, and here is the gear. Different than my past builds, I am finally using 3 pieces of a legendary gear set. This one is the Torrential Downpour's Techno specific set that is designed for Anomaly Power and the Shrapnel skill. Mods for the helmet include Anomaly Echo, which is a tier 3 mod, and More Traps, which is a tier 1. Now don't worry, later in this video I will give you some alternate choices if you don't have Anomaly Echo. Now what makes this mod so valuable to the build is not only the nice AP bonus, but the fact that each time we activate a skill, that Anomaly Power buff stays active for 15 seconds. And in case you didn't know, melee does count as a skill activation. More Traps just makes sense because the bulk of our skill damage will come via the Shrapnel skill, so the more of these things we have to deploy, the better. You know, I've got to say that I've been playing Outriders since the demo, and just thinking back, I think this is the first time my character actually looks like a real badass. I mean, the gear all matches, and in general, I don't look like a reject from a Mad Max movie. I'm kind of proud, actually, of the way I look. Just thought I'd throw this out there. But anyways, back to the build. The body armor I looted is a rare piece, and then upgraded and modded to Epic to include Damage Absorber and Stand Tall, both tier 2 mods. Now, since I am not going to be pushing out enough DPS just using my sidearms to really take advantage of bonus firepower mods like Mitigation from Death, Damage Absorber made it easy to beef up my build sustain. Now, I don't think I see too many people using Stand Tall, but since I never take cover, it grants my build a decent firepower, but more importantly, Anomaly Power bonus. The lower body armor is the second piece of Torrential Downpour gear with Move Groove and more damage. Now, like Stand Tall, Move Groove I don't see too many players using, but it gives the build another bonus firepower Anomaly Power bonus just for moving. Also, I switch between Stand Tall and Brawl, depending on the server and my squad mates, because with Brawl, my melee hits for nearly 70k before any of my mod buffs stack on top. It's really up to you, it's your choice, because some players want a little more pop with their actual skills, and some want to punch harder. More Damage is a tier 1 Shrapnel mod that adds nearly 120k to the damage output for each mine. The gloves aren't exactly what I wanted for this build, but they're pretty damn close and they do help with sustain. Now, Untamed Power grants us another 46k damage to enemies within 5 meters each time we deploy a skill, melee included, and now hopefully you're starting to see the method behind my madness. What I want to do is get in really close and alternate between my weapon and my skills, which each time I deploy, melee included, will hit the targets for this additional 46k damage, and then of course the actual skill will go off, and then we get all of that damage buff as well. Now throw in Anomaly Echo on our helmets, that adds another AP bonus, and this all starts to really make this build pop. Now, Emergency Stance was fixed, but it can still save your butt every now and then, especially when something like a Broodmother somehow makes this instantaneous 180 and swipes you out of nowhere. The boots are the third and final piece of Torrential Downpour gear, and with the 3-piece bonus, our Shrapnel mines add another 116k damage based off of the Anomaly Power. Now here's where I made a bit of an odd choice, as I added Icicle Storm to the build. Not so much for me, although when I do get it to proc, the damage is immense, but the real reason I have this on the build is for squad play. Now once I hit the Cold Snap on a closely packed mob, if my squad mate can kill one of the targets while they're still frozen, it will set loose a 252k explosion within 5 meters, and this can really decimate mobs, especially those monsters on specific expeditions. Supplies adds a third Shrapnel mine to our build for even more mayhem. The final piece of this build is of course the Sidearm, and I tried not to do anything fancy here and went and grabbed the Earthborn Renegades pistols from my stash, which are full auto. They already come with Death Chains, a tier 2 weapon mod that based off of my Anomaly Power will hit targets for nearly 194k damage and can really help out with crowd control. To help burn down those pesky elites, I added on Ultimate Toxic Bullets, which is a tier 3 weapon mod, but you could just as easily use the tier 2 version with a slightly longer cooldown. Now Toxic Bullets pairs up with our skill tree and the nodes we selected for more damage versus targets afflicted with this status effect. As I mentioned earlier, if you don't have the tier 3 mod Anomaly Echo, here are some possible substitutes. Aura of Force can give you a huge 30k AP bonus for killing enemies with a critical shot, and it will also apply to your allies as well for 10 seconds. Now, if you have someone using ash on their builds, you could use power from the ashes to grab even more anomaly power for killing targets afflicted with ash. Another interesting selection could be Exposing Strike, because when you kill an enemy with a melee strike, it inflicts the vulnerable status effects on the ground within a 10-meter radius of your position. And finally, since you are going to be right up in the enemy's faces, Seismic Impulse can hit targets for nearly 100k every 6 seconds as long as they are within 5 meters of your character. The idea behind this build is that you want to get in super close, spam your shrapnel mines, apply those toxic afflictions through your melee and weapon mods, and then use your cryo turret and cold snap for crowd control. Once you get proficient at sequencing your skills, you can learn to cold snap and then toss out your mines, which if they kill a frozen target, will set off this Icicle Storm mod, and it creates a chain reaction of explosions. Don't be afraid to go toe-to-toe with those CT15 mobs and strafe around them, alternating between your weapon, melee, and skills. Once you get the hang of it, you will see even hardened enemies get utterly melted, even on CT15 content, due to your overwhelming mix of anomaly power, afflictions, and melee strikes. And just in case you need assistance with challenge tier carries or just want help in general understanding Outriders, check in this video description for a link to an open invite to my community Discord server. All you need to do is accept the rules and you are in. Once there, we have channels for challenge tiers, builds, and of course LFG. And because Outriders is crossplay enabled, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. Also, there are free voice channels for you to go on mic with your squad mates as you take on your favorite Outriders content. That's going to wrap up this build guide, and if you should have any questions for me concerning any of the gear choices, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to smash the sub button for more intensive Outriders content, and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss a future upload notification from my channel. If you could take the time to rate and or share the video, it would of course be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to find me over on Twitch with weekly streams, join my community Discord server to discuss all things Outriders, and of course, follow me on Twitter, posting on most things gaming related. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.